Spotlight, lectures and performances on and around Albany State University.
The concept of one man, one vote is a beautiful ideology. But when you interject politics into it, you interject special interests. And you can't get around it. You can't get around it in the government. You can't get around it on your job. You can't get around it on the college, on the campus. It drives everything that we do. But listen, the thing that, even with that, you still have to maintain the highest degree of character and integrity. Regardless of what it is you do, whether they like you or don't like you, you still have to be men and women of character. And I remember when I first ran for office, I think I said, I will not compromise my character or my integrity for anyone or anything. And I stand by that today. You can't let anybody give you enough of anything that you're going to compromise who you are. Because once you start doing that, then you don't know who the hell you are. You whatever they make you. And that's not a good place to be. Have any of y'all ever been up to Washington?
Been there once.
Been there once?
Oh, Washington, D.C.
D.C.
Yeah, once.
Yeah, been to the Capitol, White House, all that stuff. That's a good deal. Because listen, I didn't go to the Capitol of Georgia until I went there as a lobbyist, and I was in my 30s. Really. I mean, from Hopeful, we couldn't hardly.
Well, I went in 4th grade, so I'm sorry.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was Camilla, Hopeful. Camilla.
Well, I went to school in Camilla. I mean, I went back and told them they need to start taking kids to the Capitol. Maybe that's what happened. But what it really did for me when I go there, it opened my mind to the possibilities. I remember this guy named Rodney Slater. Do y'all remember Rodney Slater? He was Secretary of Transportation. And I got to know him pretty well. So I would go up and visit with him. And when you start thinking about transportation, most thing I would think about was air and roads. It never really occurred to me that he was also over the trains. And he's also over the ships. He's also over the ships.
Commerce.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Just the whole gambit. But as I said earlier, one of the things you want to do is just try to see if you can maintain your focus. Who's a senior? Have you all considered internships with the congressman's office?
Working on it.
Working on it? Mm-hmm. What about the rest of y'all?
I like it.
All you have to do is apply. Same thing is with the state of Georgia. What was the young man who was an intern from Albany State?
Mr. Mack.
Mr. Mack.
Oh, I know today.
He's in D.C. now, right?
I've lost contact with the last couple of months.
He might, listen, I'm going to tell you, it's a life-changing experience. Every student from Albany State that has ever been there, and even the ones that have been to Washington, it is a life-changing experience because you get a chance to interface and see so many things about how state government works and how federal government works that you don't even have a clue. You don't even have a clue. It's not in the books. That's right. It's just being able to walk the halls and to be in that environment. Just to be in that environment. About 4 years ago, right when Mac was there, because we had another black female, an older lady who had an intern. She was at Reverend Hurd's election night. But she served as an intern there. And so when she left, what I had done is that I'd sent out, it was about 4 years ago, over here, where I was going to create an internship myself for Albany State students. We'll pay you $1,500 stipend. He talked to Georgia State, so you can live in the Commons over there, unless of course you were from Atlanta and then you can stay at home. The unfortunate part about it is that we did it for 2 years and nobody even took me up on it.
Wow.
And what I did is that I went and looked at the state internship, and I looked at the congressional internship, and kind of tailored it to that. Because like I say, it is, I don't know probably what would have happened to me that if I had been in college and had an opportunity to interface in that environment at that level. You don't have to go into politics. You don't. But it gives you an opportunity just to see how the system works. Just to see how it works. And it gives you a different level of appreciation for how the process works. Now, and it makes you always, it heightens your level of participation and understanding. I shared it with the class earlier, and that is, African American males, even those who are not on paper, vote at a clip of 10%, 10 points lower than African American females. You go to the same schools, essentially live in the same houses, but African American females in the state of Georgia, percentage-wise, is the highest voting group in the state. So the more of you all that get an opportunity to have that experience, the more you'll begin to understand how state government, how federal government, how county and city government impacts your life. You know, everything we do has an impact on everything you do. Y'all ever wonder why we do 70 miles an hour on the interstate? Anybody ever thought about that? Why we do 70?
Make sure everybody's safe on the same speed, because if you leave it to everybody's discretion to go at their own speed, that's what causes accidents.
But somebody had to make that decision, didn't they? Who made that decision?
He went out.
That's right. Who you think made the decision that we're going to only have Zell Miller scholars to get the full ride on Hope? Who you think made that decision? Huh? The people at the Georgia General Assembly. It was the biggest fight we had 2 years ago. The absolute biggest fight that we had 2 years ago. That now we're going to separate kids pretty much based on, they say it's academics, but it's mostly, it is more economics. It is. If your daddy went to college, your mama went to college, your granddaddy went to college, your grandmama went to college, y'all probably come up with a 1200 SAT. Because everybody has made education a primary focus since the day that you were conceived. Not the day you were born, but the day you were conceived. Those kids' grandparents and parents made education a primary focus. So they come out ready to make 1200 on the SAT and a 3.7 grade point average. How many of y'all are first generation college students? First generation college student. See, the same focus on education was not there. It was there. But it's a difference when you've been to college and now you can tell your child and your children about going to college, because you know the obstacles that they're going to have to overcome. Hope Scholarship, as it was created or as it was derived, it was pretty much for people who didn't have hope. it was pretty much for people who parent made less than $6,000 a year. So they're going to have an opportunity to go to college. Then we moved it to 100. Then we moved it to 150. But people who make laws decide those kinds of things. And being in the environment and seeing how it takes place, your life has changed forever. It's changed forever. Yeah. Almost like when you was working on my campaign. It was changed forever, wasn't it? It was. It was. It was. So, as you all move and as you matriculate, we want you to be focused. We want you to get involved in the community around you, because a great gift has been given to you. I mean, you got a lot of friends who didn't make college. You have a lot of relatives who didn't make college. And your community is really dependent on you. So we ask y'all not to let us down. So, kind of hate I stood up, because usually if I was sitting down, I probably would have got a little bit more conversation from y'all. but what's that, Dr. Woodard?
Should we open it up for questions?
Please.
I think they were going to be respectful to let you speak first. What should we do?
Okay, you know, I had this other class and they were freshmen. They couldn't I couldn't say a sentence unless they. but I mean, I remember being a freshman too, so I know what they're going through. Does anyone have any questions or any observations? Yes, sir.
Question about interns.
Okay.
What exactly, what was the one I'm trying to ask? What interns are you actually working on having with ASU?
I put it on the shelf, but I mean, I can bring it back. Basically, what I end up doing is it becomes a person who kind of shadows me, the things, the bills that I'm working on, the legislation that I'm trying to work with, the places that I go and the things that I do, just being in the environment. Okay. I wanted to probably see if you can go through some professor or another, because at that point I was going to allow them to come up with something such that they could end up, you could end up getting credit also. And that was the thing that was perhaps the most trying, is that you're going to be away from school. So you would almost have to have a independent study group. There are classes that you can take independent study. You go with your professors, they can create you something. Because I had, getting my history degree, the guy who I knew real well, he created a couple of independent studies for me. Yeah.
And it could be a great pipeline for the potential internship that is going to be created with Congressman Bishop.
Yeah.
I think, students doing it here at the state level, getting that state level experience and exposure in Atlanta is a training ground for them to be able to go to the next level and do it in Washington, D.C. Because that's an altogether different animal. State and federal are lots of similarities, but clearly a huge difference in terms of culture.
Huge difference. Huge difference. They're making decisions on, based pretty much how they're going to impact the world, how the United States impacts the world. We pretty much make decisions on how we impact the state and the rest of the communities around us, the other states around us. It's a big difference. Now listen, with the state of Georgia, we also have internships that are not necessarily the ones that I've created, the one that I created. You should at least make application for that. The governor has an internship. The Senate has an internship, and the House has an internship. You remember? It's hard work and perseverance. You got to sit there and fill out the form and send in the application.
I know earlier you were talking about you were a lobbyist. I didn't know that. Or, I just want to know, like, how does lobbying, how does that tie into, like, the political arena as far as like, kind of getting your feet wet to politics? 'Cause I was considering doing it once upon a time, back in the day, but, like, I don't know, like, yeah.
How you get there?
Right. How, like.
You need to get to be an intern because some lobbyists have interns.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, let me tell you. Those are the people who make the money in government. It's a lobbyist. I was a lobbyist, but I was an unpaid lobbyist. Okay. I wasn't a lobbyist. I was an advocate. Okay. There's a difference. Okay. And I was advocating on behalf of African American business enterprise in the state of Georgia. Cynthia McKinney and David Lucas in 1992 did a study on who does the state do business with. And after the study, they found that the state of Georgia did less than 1% of its business with minority vendors and less than 0.5% with African Americans. So we founded an organization called the Georgia Summit of African American Business Organizations, which is an association of different business associations throughout the state, to advocate and to lobby on behalf of black business enterprises in the state. So, I mean, I started, first time I went to the Capitol, I met the governor. Met with the governor. I met with that was Zell Miller at the time. Met with the Lieutenant Governor, Pierre Howard. Met with Secretary of State, who was Max Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Listen, first time at the Capitol, I was blown away by that. I made it a pilgrimage every year, at least 2 or 3 times a year to go there. That was in 92. By 96, I was a state representative.
I have a question, Representative Dukes. Is it possible for me to bring students to the Capitol in January, between January and say March of next year, just for a visit? I think Dr. Milton did that. Did you not do that?
Mr. Mack invited Dr. Kay and I.
Oh, just the two of you?
Yeah.
Okay. But is that, and be able to see you all in session on a given day, a Tuesday, Wednesday, some day that you think would be helpful, so that students can have a visual sense of what takes place, because they know a lot of the didactic, we talk about it in class, but they read it in the textbooks. But I think it's very important for them to have the experiential, make the correlation between what they're reading and then being able to see it at work, see it taking place, seeing people disagree, argue,
Yeah.
The whole nine. Going through.
Not only is it possible, but I would encourage it. I used to host the Georgia State Law School students, Black Student Alliance. I used to host them because one of the young ladies who was an intern for me one year ended up going to law school at Georgia State. And so she would bring her friends down, and we would just go through and, they would meet some of the people, and I would take them to different committee meetings or caucus events and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, you need to get that exposure. Exposure is the key to life. You see, if you don't know what's out there, it's hard to strive for it. It's hard to strive for it. And like I said, I got here from Hope. So y'all got, we come from Albany State, you all, I'm saying, you all got at least 40 miles and 100,000 people? Better push? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to ask you, and y'all probably missed this because I tiptoed in a little late. I apologize for that. But you said you didn't plan on going to law school. So how did you transition into going to law school? You didn't plan on doing it?
I didn't go to law school.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I went and got it. My cousin who went to law school, I think he went, but he hated it. He hated it at Georgia. Because now you got to take into consideration, this was 1970. Let's see, he graduated from high school in 72, so this was 76, 77. And Georgia was not as receptive at the time to African American students, particularly in his law schools. And he was from Hopeful too. and he went to Morris Brown, and then he ended up at the law school at the University of Georgia. So I think it was too much of a cultural adjustment for him at the time. It is projected in the next 20 years, most of y'all bosses are gonna be women. I mean, look, if you're going to look in the law schools now, I think a majority of the people that see them going to law schools are women. Going in businesses, women. Yeah. And you know, if Hillary has her way, 16, woman president, it's going to be rough on the brothers.
Broader question about revenues for the state. Tax money beginning to come back. Are you beginning to see that?
When they come back, we give them away.
Okay.
Okay. See, one of the things that we have done in the state is this. It's very important who you elect. When the House went Republican and the Senate had already gone, and so did the governorship. In Jackson, somebody asked me, and they said, what do you see the biggest difference? I said, well, the biggest difference, well, you know, we're going to do the same things in the state. We're going to educate kids. We're going to repair and pave roads. We're going to incarcerate people who have went afoul of the law. We're going to do public safety. But the biggest thing is going to be is who pays for services and who receives services. And that is kind of shown itself to be true. Today, I was supposed to be in Macon. I'm a member of the Agriculture Committee. I represent Baker County, Miller County, and Seminole County, big farming areas. So of course I wanted to be on agriculture. But today the Agriculture Committee was supposed to be in, or rather we are in Macon, at the Farm Bureau building there. And the Agriculture Secretary, Commissioner, Mr. Black, Commissioner Black, is having a press conference because we passed a bill last year that clarified the exemption of sales tax for all farm-related items. Seeds, feeds, equipment, trucks, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides. If it has anything to do with agriculture, you don't pay sales tax on it. We also did that for Delta for their gas purchases, which runs us about $30 million a year. We also did that for Gulfstream, which runs us about $48 million a year. We also gave the film industry, which is really paying dividends in the state, we gave them a tax break of 18 to 20 million. Then we gave a tax break to private schools up to 50 million. That is, you can forego the amount of money that you pay for state income tax. You can give it to a foundation that is a private school. So it's not a matter of the revenues being slack as it is what we're doing with the revenues. We also did the birthday tax for your car tag. Okay? You no longer will have a tag tax. We're going to charge you a transfer fee.
Yeah.
When you do the sales tax on your car, when you buy one, that's 7%. The title fee is going to be between 6.5% to 7%, but you never have to pay the tag tax again. So you only pay that tax one time. But the problem is not that we're lacking in revenues, because I think the revenues probably would be back had we not given out all those tax exemptions. That's where the problem is. And we don't know what the tag tax is going to do. We don't know what that agriculture tax is going to do, because they come back and say it's, well, you know, we have to do a fiscal note, and they got to give us an estimate of how much we think it's going to cost, what kind of impact it's going to be on the budget. It's never right. And then they come in with low numbers. You come back the next year, the money's not there. And those are the things that we have really been struggling against. And the greatest impact that it's had on it has been public education. It's the biggest piece of the budget. You do education, corrections, DHR. That accounts for about 70 to 80% of the budget. So if you're $2 billion short, it's hard not to go into education to make up the downfall. So to answer your question, I think the revenues are there, but by the time we leave, people gonna have it, but it won't be me and you. Yeah.
We really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. And
All the hard work that you are doing, both here in Albany and in Atlanta. We wish you continued success.
well, thank you. And listen, and I wish you all a lot of success too. You all are truly privileged to have Dr. Milton and Dr. Woolard here to help you all as you matriculate. See, at Mercer we didn't have this. There was not a nurturing environment. I mean, it was out there. You get it if you get it. You don't, you don't. It costs $45,000 a year to go to school. And if you want to blow your mom and dad's money, it's all right. You can do that. And you could stay there, I think, with like a 1.5 average for a while, as long as you sent the money. So we didn't have this as an opportunity. You do. And I would encourage you all to take advantage of it. One of my greatest philosophers is this guy named Kant. And Kant said that he defined what happiness was. We were talking about what that is. When I remember that when I was in college. And he said happiness is that thing that brings the greatest amount of joy to the greatest amount of people. I mean, that has kind of driven me, and I'm sure it's going to drive you because you just want to help people. Yeah. Did I miss anybody else? Did I ask you?
Yeah, me.
And I got you. Okay. Well, listen, like I said, I want to thank you all for at least giving me an opportunity to share some of the things that I've experienced. Did I ask you? I already knew what you wanted to do, didn't I? Yeah. Just well-defined plan, narrowly tailored, predator's mentality. Hard work and perseverance are the gateways to success. Thank you.